Hi, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Maureen Lashley, a lifetime Dutchess County resident and the Executive Director of Habitat for Humanity of Dutchess County, and welcome. In a few minutes, you're going to be switched over to our Habitat Happy Hour, and we are so pleased to hear that you're enjoying it and learning and can't wait for our next one. And I promise you that this one's going to be exciting. It's going to engage you, and it's going to get you back to construction and get you back to volunteering. We are really excited about that. But we also have to be honest about what's going on right now in our community. It's important to remind ourselves that we as a community are in pain, and that the very families that Habitat for Humanity serves are the most vulnerable to the pain of racism and classism and sexism and economic security. We cannot be silent. Like many of you, we spend much of our time focused on the coverage across the country of protests, while at the same time trying to salvage the health and economics of our people and our organization. Like many of you, spend much of our time focused on the coverage of protests across the United States, while at the same time trying to salvage our people and our organization from the health and economic ravages of COVID-19. While at first glance they may seem unrelated, they are in fact symptoms of a common disease: the marginalization of people. We wonder how many of God's people were called to shelter in place but couldn't heed the warning because they didn't have a safe place to shelter. These protests are not just about the killing of George Floyd. They're about Breonna Taylor, who was killed in her own home during a no-knock raid, or about Ahmaud Arbery, who was shot dead while jogging in his own neighborhood. They're about Christian Cooper, whose safety was jeopardized just for asking a woman to curb her dog. They're about Trayvon Martin and Eric Garner and Sandra Bland and Rodney King and Emmett Till. And for those of you in my age range, you'll remember that they're also about Klan members in the 1960s who burnt down our founder Clarence Jordan's vegetable stand and fired into the homes of families living on an interracial farming co-op in Georgia. They're about decades and centuries of individual and systemic racism that precede and infuse the founding and the life of our nation. Our hearts are lifted as we partake in and see peaceful protests. Our hearts are broken as we see violence. Habitat can be a part of the answer. The way we approach our work at Habitat must be a vehicle for reconciliation and help break down barriers between people. No matter their background or their walk of life, all of our partners work together side by side, and that has to always be true. We work in a power together model, not a power over model. Habitat can be a vehicle for reconciliation, but it only happens if we make it so. Most of us at Habitat cannot understand, but we can stand with our family of color. Habitat is more than a housing not-for-profit. It's a vision of a world where we share one humanity. Habitat for Humanity was born on a farm in South Georgia on the theory of radical inclusivity, at a time when inclusivity was considered an existential threat. It's a vision of a world we still believe in and fight every day to build one house at a time. That farm, Koinonia Farm, founded in the 1940s, lives on today, and that gives us hope. We want you to know that we're here to fight the fight alongside you. The last few months have been enormously challenging for everyone, including our ministry. The last few days, even more so. But our family of color has lived this challenge for 200 plus years. We encourage each of you hearing this message to reflect on the challenges we face and rededicate yourselves to the Habitat vision of a united humanity where everyone, regardless of their race, of all faiths, of no faith, has a decent place to call home, because home can be the great equalizer. Thank you, and enjoy Habitat Happy Hour. Hi everyone, and welcome to Habitat Happy Hour. We are really excited today. Today we are going to shed a little light on something, and we have with us today Barb Adams, our construction manager and volunteer extraordinaire, and she's going to share with you an idea that she has that she would love to have go viral.
I'm going to start by pointing out that we've got our 6 feet social distance, so for the purpose of videotaping, we'll take our masks off because we're appropriately distanced. As Maureen said, I generally work on the construction side, so one of the really disappointing aspects of the COVID closures to me is that we haven't been able to work on construction. So we, the Habitat team, got together and we tried to think of a project where people could build, where we could build something meaningful, where we could abide by the rules of the COVID closures, and we came up with a project to modularize shed construction. So just before we got here, I got to put some tools away, so why don't we walk over to the shed. The reason we're meeting here is because this is a very unusual Habitat house in that it does have a shed, and I know Maureen will talk about that. But let's go on over to the shed and show you what we're talking about.
So, as Barb said, this is one of the few houses that we have been able to turn over to a family that has a shed on it. And you might ask, well, if you're about safe, decent, affordable housing, what does it matter whether or not you have a shed? We're going to talk a little bit about that, and Barb's going to show you exactly why a shed is an integral part of safe, decent, and affordable housing. Barb?
Absolutely. And one of the things I know Maureen talks about, it's one thing to make affordable housing for folks. It's another thing to help them be successful homeowners. And that's a really key point about the shed. When a Habitat homeowner takes over the property, they need to maintain it. They're going to have tools. A lot of them have families, so their kids might have bicycles. We need a place. Maureen, a lot of the homes are on the street.
Yeah, so this house happens to be one of the unique houses that actually has a driveway, which is wonderful and amazing. But most of our City of Poughkeepsie houses have on-street parking and very little property. So the ability to store anything is limited to what you might be able to keep inside. And in order to make these homes affordable, we don't have full basements, we have crawl spaces, because that is not an integral part of safe, decent, affordable housing. However, as Barb is going to continue to tell us, storage is.
Yeah, I actually just got done building a house that's on slab. So there's another traditional storage spot that, because we're making affordable housing decent, secure, they don't even have a basement. So coming up with a plan for folks to store their tools, for folks to store their bicycles, just to be safe, secure, remain, keeping their property looking good. So this is a shed that we had one of our volunteers built. And as you can see, it was built from scratch. It's solid wood construction. And right now, Habitat, during the construction process, has been using it to store our tools, which is also a super important need. Just to keep them away from the weather, keep them out of the elements. So, our project, we're calling it I Give a Shed, which is cute because obviously we're talking about giving sheds, buying sheds, making sheds. And it can be euphemistically that I give a something else.
Barb! So oh my goodness, you give them an inch, they take a mile.
I give a lot of people smile when they hear that because they give a too. So the concept is people are stuck at home. People have their tools. People want to build. So we modularize the concept of building a shed. This can be one panel, easy to build. We already showed you what the inside looks like. You use 2x4s, you have spacing, you have individual instructions, simple to follow instructions. People can build, waiting for a truck to go by because we are in a neighborhood. You can build a shed panel at home. Simple, easy instructions. Novice builders can do it. A Boy Scout troop can do it. A church group can do it. You get the materials, you buy a simple shed panel. Then we transport it to Habitat. We've got a nice big warehouse and storage space. We store the shed panels, and then when a Habitat home needs a shed, we can simply go out and in a single day put the panels together, and at the end of a few hours we've got a solid, secure wooden shed. The panels can come, they can either make an 8 by 8 foot shed or a 4 by 8 shed, depending on what the property can handle.
So Barb mentioned earlier on that this is unusual in that we do have a shed on this property already, and you might wonder how did that happen, because obviously it is new. So in addition to having your Boy Scout or your Girl Scout group make sheds or having your family build sheds, this was actually an opportunity for Ulster Savings Bank to do a team building activity, and they came down with Dave Furman, who's another one of our key volunteers, and built this shed. So Dave designed it, the team from Ulster Savings Bank built it, and as a result we have a shed on this property. And already the new homeowner, who with any luck at all will be taking possession of this house within the next 45 days, has talked about how critical this is going to be for her. One of the things I never really thought about is how lucky I am that when Christmas is over, I can store all my Christmas things in the garage. She'd be in a position of having to buy them again if she didn't have someplace to store them. So there is no end to what this shed will do to improve the quality of life of a Habitat homeowner.
Since the COVID shutdown, we've built, cornhole games, raised garden beds, but there's nothing more profound that's going to make an impact on letting Habitat homeowners be successful in their home than building them a shed. And I think the concept, and I'll let you speak to this, they're going to be purchased at a sliding scale. They're going to be purchased at an ability to pay, which is the Habitat model. So you want to speak to that a little bit more?
Absolutely. So what you may not know is that Habitat prices its homes out at the homeowner's ability to pay. So this house might cost family A $100,000, but family B $150,000, and that's because that's what their income can support. They have 29% of their gross income going into home expenses. The shed will be priced out the exact same way. We also hope to make opportunities available for donors to donate portions of the shed. We also hope to be able to make opportunities available to the general public who might love nothing better than to have a Habitat for Humanity built shed in their yard.
That's right. Absolutely awesome. Cool. One of the things I know I've been watching every Wednesday, these Live at 5s, these Habitat happy hours, and one of the cool parts is that you can ask questions. So if you're watching this right now and you have any questions either about this project or what's going on, go ahead and just fire it off in the comments. Another thing that's really important is just click like, click share. Let us know you're watching. Let the whole world know what the Habitat Shed project is all about, and it's going to help us. It'll help us be successful. The more we can get the word out, the more people we can get involved. So that's another important part about this video. If you're watching, let us know.
So Barb, I just want to say this is a really fun idea, and it will be fun for you to be part of. It will be fun for the family to be able to use it in their new home. But on a slightly more serious note, our country has been in a crisis for several months now, and we are having a lot of difficulty getting through this. If you are in any way limited in your home capacity, how do you shelter in place if you don't have a safe place to shelter? By the grace of God, we've been able to build a home during this process, and some of our volunteers have been coming in individually and in twos to complete it. But there are many more families out there who need a home. Please help us make that possible. You say that we are so grateful to Barb for shedding a light on this need. Barb, as always, thank you. I'd like to hug you. I'd like to shake your hands, but in my heart, you're here.
If there's any questions that are coming up, we'll be glad to answer them. You're going to be hearing a lot more about this. How you can get involved is you can offer to build a shed panel. Do it at home. We'll get it to Habitat. You can donate. We're modularizing each shed, not only in its construction, but also in its costs. This project, as exciting as it is, does have some real upfront costs. So if you can make a donation to support a shed panel, that would be awesome. You can do both. You can build a shed panel, but offer to pay for it yourself. Come on back in here, because what we're going to do is we will put your name, whether it's your organization or your name, we'll put it right on the shed. You will be memorialized, and this family will always know, will be reminded of your generosity. So if you donate a shed panel, we're going to put your name right up there, your organization. So look for more information coming soon.
Barb, thanks again.
Absolutely. Let's
Bye,
get to
everyone.
work.
See you next week.